Listen, what do you get when you put a barber and a parts manager together to start a podcast? Hell, we don't know either, so just roll the damn thing. This is Cutting Up with Clint and Dusty. This is Clint Brazier, along with my good buddy, Mr. Dusty Kaiser. How are you, my friend?
What's up, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's been a long Saturday.
It has.
Work, and I've really paid for it these last 2 days. Had fighting the flu. But this is our very first inaugural podcast episode, Dusty.
That's it, number one.
And there's probably going to be a lot of people around town going, why the hell are they doing that? We don't know.
We really don't know.
We're just going to find out.
And see what happens.
And it may be for you and it may not. What we're going to try to do on this show is every week we're going to have a topic. This week's going to be shorter because it's our first show and we want to get some disclaimers out there, I guess.
Right, because there's a few things we need to talk about.
Yeah. But every week it's going to have kind of a topic that you can all hopefully enjoy. It's going to be more generated toward mine and your age, I think.
I would say so.
Because we're going to talk 90s NBA basketball. We're going to talk Tennessee, Alabama football, the rise and fall.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the 90s Braves. We're going to talk about, things that went through our time. We may get political every once in a while. We're not going to get religious.
No.
I'm throwing that out right now.
Yeah, we're not going to argue that. But we may get political.
Yeah.
And,
me and Dusty may call each other a shithead every once in a while, but we don't mean it.
No, we don't mean it. We still love each other.
Yeah. But with that said, what have you, and another disclaimer, Mom, Jennifer Brazier and Sherry Kaiser, our mothers, listen, you may want to earmuff this thing or don't tell the little old ladies at church to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, don't go home and say you're proud of your sons after this one. We love you.
But getting into that, Dusty, I think if you probably describe me and you, we grew up together, both graduated in 1999. I had kids first. I had kids at a young age. Your oldest one's just graduating this year. My youngest one graduated last year. But I've been a barber for 25 years now. And you've done a little bit of everything. Been law enforcement.
Done that. Worked at Pepsi for a little bit. Then come back to Lawrenceburg and worked at Lincare until I got into my career as a parts guy, which I got started in the parts actually when we were in high school.
Right.
And then it just kind of progressed, and then I kind of hit a brick wall. But
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard I've got the gift for gab, and listen, when your granddad was a barber for over 70 years, you're going to hear a lot of stories. So
absolutely.
I know how to talk. It's whether or not anybody wants to listen to it.
It's
But as I said, Dusty and I grew up together. We played multiple sports together, and we love sports. And that's pretty much mostly going to be our topic. Neither one of us very good at sports.
No.
but we still love to, we call for our local area teams here around in Tennessee where we're from. But we love sports and we love to, but I don't think you're ever going to hear me and him say we know exactly what we're talking about. Just a full disclaimer. There's no Stephen A. Smiths going on or Steve Bayless is on in this podcast.
Not at all. But I think our opinions are good.
Well, hopefully, if nothing else, it'd be something you say, yeah, I've never thought about it that way, and hopefully laugh a time or two with it, too.
Or you may say, damn, there's some dumb rednecks.
You may say, unlike.
Yeah, we don't want to watch them guys no more.
Yeah, screw these guys.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think if you probably asked or just wanted to know, I probably lean more Democratic, and I'd say you probably lean more Republican if we ever wanted to get into and we probably will. Listen, when you got somebody like Trump that says some crazy stuff, he's going to give us a lot of bulletin board material.
Oh, we got a lot of. We could have topics every week about what's been going on in the past month.
So that's just kind of our base where we stand and everything like that. When we put this out, as of right now, it is the day we were recording this episode is Saturday, February 22nd. Of 2025. I don't know when we'll first get it out, but what we'll do in that, we'll put what our topic will be for next week. Okay? So you folks, you can we'll have a Facebook page or we'll have a YouTube page, and you can put in the comment section any questions or things you would like for us to go over about that said topic we're going to talk about next week.
And if they have a better topic they want to talk about later on, let us know.
Throw something out there that you'd like for us to research and study and talk about, and we'll be glad to do it. Yeah, it's a good call there.
Yeah.
So, it's been, it's almost the end of February. This year's almost used up. Talking some current sports right now, Dusty, I've got to get something off my chest with the NBA.
I think a lot of people do.
You know, we've talked about it, how bad we thought the All-Star game was.
Terrible.
And how much better the NHL All-Star game was. Let me play this clip from PK Subban that pretty much described everything that I think on the state of the NBA right now.
Once again, I asked the question, what are you playing for? Like, if you're really about it, if you're really about sports, then you're about two things, your teammates and the fans. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. When you do not show up to play, you're letting your teammates down. When you do not show up to play, you're letting the fans down that are paying you 40, 50, 60 million. I don't care if you're getting 300 million. Congratulations. But these people in here are paying $2,500 a ticket, $5,000, that are blue-collared, hard-working people. If you don't get your head wrapped around that, you shouldn't be in pro sports. Because how are we going to grow? How do we expect you to be an example? Well, guess what? You don't want to be? You are one. You're on the biggest stage. You just said it. They make the most money. You're an example. You got to show up. You got to take that on. I'm sick and tired of making athletes greats, all-time greats, that aren't the best examples. Those are the people that we want our kids to follow, that we want athletes to follow. That helps us in our game.
That's PK Subban. And listen, he's talking to all the talking heads at ESPN, you know, the bobbleheads that I call them, that just like to put their own disclaimers out there. But he's 100% right. And he's talking the difference in and the main thing that brought that up was NHL versus NBA All-Star game. And I think you would agree with me. It was head and shoulders so much fun to watch the NHL.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, that whole All-Star weekend NBA is just garbage now.
I agree. And let me read you something from the great Charles Barkley when he's talking about these players sitting out now, you know, and deciding, you know, we're just not going to play we got guaranteed games we got to play.
Right.
The great Charles Barkley says, wait a minute. You're going to make $70 million a year, and you can't play basketball for 3-4 days a week. He said they fly private. They got the best medical stuff ever created. People work in the steel mill every day. I'm pretty sure they're tired too, but they go to work every day. And so to that and what Subban was saying, how would you feel? Now, Jordan never did it, so we don't have to compare it to people like that we loved when we actually probably loved NBA basketball more. But let's say I was the biggest LeBron James fans there. You know, there's little kids. I had a little man in my barbershop today that said LeBron James his favorite player.
Right.
What if he decided his family spent a ticket to go to Memphis to get to see LeBron that one time, and LeBron said, I'm not making that trip.
And
just because he doesn't want to.
And there's no punishment.
Right.
And now you've got a parent or parents that spent, you know, somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 because it's LeBron James, and he's got the highest damn ticket in the NBA.
Yeah, and don't think Memphis is coming down off that ticket when they find out that LeBron's not coming.
Yeah, they're going to really stick in your ass, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, the kid shows up, and his favorite player is not even in the building.
Yeah. And then Dad's pissed off.
Yeah, now Dad's going to spend another $150 on beer because he got to drink his sorrows away because he spent all this money.
But you also know what that's going to do? Dad's going to say, we ain't doing this again.
Thank you. And I did see something. It was either last year or year before last, and it happened in Memphis. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember the player, but some parents, Steph, some parents had bought their son Christmas gift. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was courtside tickets. I mean, we're talking, and I know I got a buddy who went 2 years ago to just a regular first round playoff game, and it was $10,000 for two tickets. So they had bought the Christmas present for this boy. They get there, Steph's not in the building.
Right.
shame on Steph. And my son is a Steph fan, but he's also a Luka fan. And I know that they're going to be in Memphis.
Right.
And I've already seen. I follow a Facebook page. It's Memphis Grizzly tickets.
Right. And
they're done. It's so damn high you can't get in a building. For the
I'm
average,
sure.
like what PK's saying about just the old average blue collar guy, we can't even afford to go watch these guys because the prices get jumped up for a Luka or LeBron.
But then when they don't show, the prices still stay where they were.
Exactly. You don't get
no reimbursement.
Yeah, I can't call my ticket guy and say, "Hey, dude, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
I need half price tickets." Oh no, buddy, that's your.
And these, there's so many, like Jay Williams. I think he's a big supporter of the new era, and I think he's really trying to back all these newer players.
I think you're right.
But I just don't understand how you stand on it. And when you have people like John Stockton and Michael Jordan played 82 games at 40 years old. We're not going to get into a debate discussion.
No.
Because every freaking talk show you get onto, every podcast you get onto, seems like somebody's using that for clickbaits to figure out who the greatest of all time is. We're not even worried about that. I think we all know.
Yeah.
but
in this room, it's not even a question.
But it's hard to stand on when you had Jordan. I think Jordan's biggest contract with the Bulls, because there the last 6 years it was 1 year at a time, wasn't he?
He was on 1 year contracts. His last
for maybe $2 million a year.
I'm looking at. I think you're right though.
But remarkably less is what these players made that set the tone, that got these kids that are playing now the money that they're making. And those guys, I think John Stockton may have missed 3 games his whole career, if I'm correct.
Yeah. I've got the Jordan thing pulled up here.
What is how many?
So he started his career in '84 with a salary of $550,000. He earned $4 million in 1993. Retired in the early '90s, but returned back in '95. His final 2 seasons with the Bulls, he earned $30.1 million in '96 and '97, and he earned $33.1 97, 98, making more than 60 times his starting salary in '84. And then he was signed for a 2-year deal for $2.03 in '01 with the Wizards.
And I'm pretty sure he donated that money to 9/11 victims.
Donated his entire $1 million salary of the 21-22 season to victims of terrorism.
I got you.
So yes, Jordan.
Well, but to that said, $30 million a year in the mid '90s, that's a lot.
Oh, stupid money.
But here's the thing: that's about $40 million less than an average than one of your better players now, right? And Jordan's playing every game. You go to Atlanta. I go to Atlanta. Parents take me to Atlanta because I want to see Jordan. Okay? He didn't have to dress out that game. They had everything clinched, locked up. He's still out there, put on about 62.
And played 35, 36
because
minutes.
He did it so I would want to bring my kids to NBA games.
Yes, and that's the business part of it, and those morons don't see it.
I think at some point they're going to, don't you have to
They've got to do something. I mean, they have to, as an owner, let's look at it that way. I'm going to be pissed, for one, because I'm paying this guy $300 million, and he's sitting on the bench. Who'd you say, Dame?
Yeah, Lillard.
Yeah. So, could you imagine being the owner of the Bucks?
Right.
And you show up to the gym, and you got Boston in the arena.
Yeah.
And Dame sitting on the bench. So what's going on? Oh, he needed a night off because he worked too hard.
That's the craziest thing. What Dusty's referring to is Damian Lillard said he's sitting out the first 2 games after the All-Star break. Damn, you've just had a week and a half off.
Yeah, and you shot basketball one day.
Right. I think it just furthers that point of the problems we have with the NBA, and I think it's the problem that the rest of the country's having with the NBA.
Yeah, this isn't just a small town, 2 country boys talking.
But I did read that
Stockton missed 22 games.
Missed 22 games his
in
whole
19
career.
years.
In 19 years.
That's what 1.2 games.
Well, that's what it was. I think he averaged missing 3 games a year, maybe, or whatever it was.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
He played every game for 17 of those seasons.
Wow, how amazing is that?
So actually, in 2 years he missed 11 games apiece.
And I'm sure that was probably toward the end.
My God, he played till he's, 40?
He played just as long as Jordan.
Yeah, so he's 40.
Because they were in the same draft class.
Yeah, 84.
All right, so, that's kind of where we feel like the state of the NBA is right now. You're going to watch it more than I do because you've got a little boy that loves it.
That loves it.
I'll probably get most of my highlights from YouTube and from you.
So really, real quick on that. So, how do they fix it? Do you fine them? How much can a fine be if you're making $300 million a year?
Well, I think the way of any culture right now, you have to affect their pocketbook. But if you've got the owner, it's not. I don't think it's necessarily owners. I think it's NBA. I think it's the players' union that are all making this thing go. And at some point, someone like LeBron, who's 100 years old, still playing, I think somebody in that league, one of your best players has to come out and say, "Hey, we got to start thinking about how lucky we are to be able to do this for a living and make what we do." And we're not setting out 30 games a year anymore. Unless you're legit hurt, there's no reason to not make that road trip, because everybody that paved the way for you to do this, they did it.
They didn't seek it.
Now they might have been now in the 70s and 80s, they might have been doing a line of cocaine and drinking a beer at halftime.
Yes,
in the locker room
just to get back out.
But they still got out there and played.
Right.
Okay. Well, have you watched anything good this week?
Have I watched
Because
anything?
I've got a good one, and it will piss you off, and you need to watch it. You two guys over there, y'all need to watch it.
I don't think I really watched anything.
Well, listen.
Because I was at the gym 2 nights this week, 3 nights this week, 'cause I had Mason. Then we was here Wednesday. No, I really ain't watched nothing.
Well, listen, if you get the chance, watch the Netflix documentary, Cons, Cults, and Kidnappings. Okay, it's about the academy at Ivy Ridge, and there's a lot of these around.
I've seen it, but I don't know a lot about it.
But there's a lot of these, and they call them academic academies. And it's what it is most of these kids that's gotten a little bit of trouble, when they're there's kids anywhere from 12 to 18 years old there at them. But the parents just kind of was checking into maybe places to get them on the straight and narrow, I guess. And what these people do is they come in and they pretty much just kidnap these kids and they take them to this school. And you have to walk everything in a military line. But anyways, these people have made this documentary, these kids that went to it. And I'm talking torture, Dusty. I'm torture of these kids, okay? And let me tell you how bad it is. It's so bad that, like, the Czech Republic, there's like, all these are owned by the same company, They just have different names. Like, the one that they was mainly about was Ivy Ridge, but there's like a Dreams and something, there's all these different, and just have to go watch it. But this is the crazy part. They'll shut down one in America, and then they'll just reopen it as another name. Well, it's so bad that in the Czech Republic, Brazil, and Mexico, their governments all shut them down and said, no, this is torture. But here in the good old USA, buddy, just write me the right check, and you just reopen it as another name.
What the hell?
But it's basically, it shows all these videos, like these kids, like this one that finally got shut down for good. The ones that made this documentary were these girls that were all there before it, and they go in and they find all these records. They find all these tapes, and it's just blatant. These workers there are just beating the shit out of these kids. I'm talking kids.
And the parents sent them there?
Well, here's the magical, the most damning, and the part that'll piss you off the most about this whole deal. These businesses, that's what it is. They're businesses. They brainwash the parents, not the kids. They sell these parents that, your kid's going to have all this academic, achievements. They're going to go to the best colleges. Now, they're going to write you, every week talking about how bad this is. But you've just got to trust the system. And they would write the parents every week talking about the progress and how great they're doing. So the parents didn't have, because they couldn't call them. They couldn't talk to them. They couldn't do anything with the parents. And so the parents get brainwashed, and the parents getting all these letters from the school telling them how great their kid's doing and all this stuff. And the kids, are getting tortured. Okay, so there was like 3 kids on this. You know, the main one that did it, she got caught with a Mike's Hard Lemonade wine cooler in her backpack at school, in high school. Maybe she was a sophomore, yeah. And so her parents, she had a stepmother that I think she kind of was a wicked stepmother. But anyway, she's kind of the one behind all this. And that's the most she did, was maybe a Mike's Hard Lemonade. She just snuck to school. But there were like 3 kids on here that never did anything wrong. Like, their parents just sent them there because they thought, well, this will be really good for her. So that she finally makes all these points and finally gets to get out, because it's like a point system, and to graduate. Well, the state didn't recognize any of their grading, any of their stuff, so they have 0 high school credits, cannot get into any college.
Holy shit.
Okay? So all these kids, that their parents sent them there thinking, boy, this is like, I'm sending my kid to an Ivy League high school. No. You pretty much sent them to be tortured, and now they got their fucking GED. It's awful.
Jeez.
Listen, I'm telling you, it's a really good documentary.
Is this thing still over?
Well, that's the thing about it. They'll shut them down, and then they'll reopen another one. The good old USA, you find the right senator to sign off on it, Said, well, no, this isn't like that one. This is totally different. It's just like it.
How do you get a letter from your child? Could they not tell them they're beating the hell out of me?
No, they
read a book. You could just say I'm not having a good time. Pretty much.
If a kid says anything negative about it in those letters, they'd rip it up and say, write another one. You can ask how your family's doing. You can tell them how you're doing. But if there's anything negative in here, you got to start over. Like, they wouldn't let them send it. You just need to watch it. One, you'll be really. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. They'll shut one down, and another one will pop up. Except for freaking Czech Republic and Brazil, these third world places.
In Mexico.
And even those countries are like, no, this is torture. You can't, they didn't let you open up anymore there. Here in the good old U.S., though. They keep popping up. So, you need to watch it. It's really, really good. All right. Enough of that serious stuff.
Serious.
Talking about these damn kids and stuff like that.
Damn kids and beating people.
Our topic today, I don't even know how long are we into this?
23 minutes.
All right, so we're doing pretty good. I feel like we're not going to try to go hour long or anything, because we know y'all probably wouldn't want to hear me and Dusty talk for that long. But today, our first show topic is the year that was college football, 2024-2025 season. Really, the first year that NIL showed its face. Transfer portal showed its face, and we got to see what money can get you on the college football field.
It bought you a title.
So, just open up with
Let's open right up with it.
Go ahead.
Well, and listen, it kind of hit personal because my guy was the one who started it going up there anyways, in Caleb Downs.
Right. Dusty's a big Alabama fan. Disclaimer there.
Yeah, roll tide. But as the season started, of course, being from the South, we all hate Ohio State anyways. But we're like, oh, man, they got this one good defensive player. They've got a little bit coming back on offense, whatever. Well, then Oregon, just showed out. They're running the table. It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a whole lot of talk about Ohio State, and I never realized how much money they had actually sunk into the NIL to get all these kids.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And then you start seeing they're progressing, and you're like, okay, well, then you hear this. Mm-hmm. Then you hear this amount of money. I think it has, well, of course, it won them a title, and I think it's cost some other schools. I'm not talking about mine, but it's going to hurt other schools even worse than what it already is. Some of your smaller schools who don't have that money, or we're going to have a school, and this is going to hurt a player, I feel like. But you're going to have some school that's never going to be good, but has some money, and they're going to pay some kid this astronomical amount of money to come be the quarterback, and he's going to have like a shitty year, and it's not going to work out.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel about it right now, and we'll get deeper into it, but go ahead.
Well, listen, I thought I was right on this, and I had to look it up. the NIL is for name, image, and likeness.
Right.
That's all that the NIL was supposed to be paying these players. Was for your name, image, and likeness. So that means, Peyton Manning's probably got more money than God. But can you imagine how much money he'd have if he got a profit on some of them number 16 jerseys you saw in the 90s to now? I mean, we grew up in it.
Yes.
Here in Tennessee.
And jersey was a big thing
Hell, I
back
think
then.
I had 3.
Yeah. But how much, you're right. And so why is Jalen Milroe making money off his jersey?
Right. Well, I think you should. If you go by what the NIL is supposed to be. I think you should get a percentage if the school makes money off your name, image, or likeness. But here's my thing. I think where this collective, in my opinion, has ruined it. It's like a third-party deal.
Sure.
That what they do is they go out and recruit and they pay players, and to me that's just totally different. I think they pretty much can dictate this collective that can find all this extra money. They can kind of dictate. Hell, they can dictate it who a coach actually plays. If you're really thinking about it,
right?
If let's say Nico starts shitting the bed for Tennessee, well, this donor tells the coach, "Hey, we got $3 million invested in him. We only got 50 cents invested into his backup. You play who I'm telling. What do you do?"
Right.
And I think that's I feel like if you do that and then you add the portal on top of all that, there's just zero continuity, accountability, I think.
I think you can use the word loyalty.
Well, there's zero of that. It's where do you want to be and how much do you want to make? College football.
And the only one that I can think of, and that's you looking at the NIL money that is actually playing, grew up probably being a Gamecocks fan, is the quarterback. Mm-hmm. What's his name at South Carolina? Because that's where he's from.
Right.
But like I don't know, man. It's killed college football, I think.
Well, my thing is, like I was talking about, this third party that's really, NIL money is what it is, and players may be getting a little bit of that here and there, and they should. I think they should be. I think Jalen Milroe, if he sells 1,000 jerseys, he should get $1, $2 out of every one.
That's fair.
Because we got to remember, these kids are going to a great school for free. I think that's got lost in all of it. You are getting paid. You're getting a free education. Now, I do think kids should. I don't think that schools should make all the profit off said kid.
No.
If a kid, I've never had a problem. If a kid wants to go sign a jersey and somebody wants to pay him for it, NCAA needs to go kick rocks. That's not your business. You make enough money. But I think when you start delving out, let's just use Ohio State for an example. When you start delving out $100 million, over a span of 5 years, I think is what they've said they've invested. Right. $100 million. You're getting into something that's setting these college kids up, even the great college players that have a future in the NFL. Let me tell you something. You can't do that shit in the NFL.
No.
You're setting up a way of life that's fixing to get shot in the dark for them, because guess what? You go where you're played, and this is your contract. If you don't like it, adios.
Yes, and a lot of those guys have to see it.
Yes.
They don't get to just come out and start in the NFL.
So, again, my whole take on it is I'm okay with NIL if you have it name, image, likeness. I do. But
no problem with
I think you've got to get rid of the big money and the basically legal poaching that you can do.
Yep. And I think it's different for college, just to say, than the NFL, and maybe I'm wrong here, but let's just use Arch for instance, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He got a couple of chances this year and done a little bit, and then he didn't do so much, and then at the end of the season
he played well against the bad teams when Ewers was out,
right?
And then he had a couple of opportunities in SEC championship playoff game that he just didn't do a whole lot, but he didn't get a lot of opportunity,
right? But So you got him sitting over on the bench as the backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know they got a third one sitting over there.
Oh, yeah.
And not saying that this has nothing to do with Arch. And we're just talking about this scenario is like, well, what if he shows that he's a little better than Arch in practice? Mm-hmm. Well, now he knows that you got Arch over here making $4.5 million, and this old boy's probably making $30,000. Mm-hmm. You know, if that.
Yeah, he may be on here just on scholarship.
He may be. And I feel like that's where you start getting into some of your problems as a team. Mm-hmm. Because then, you know, that kid's looking at him like.
Well, Dusty, there's no way. I mean, me and you were young athletes. We know jealousy's going to happen a lot. Are you telling me that if I'm a workhorse running back that might be making $20,000-$30,000 a little extra behind a quarterback that's making $2 million a year, and I feel like I'm just as valuable on this team as he is, that I'm not going to have a little edge to me?
Yeah,
pissed off.
Absolutely.
And I can't blame the kid for looking at saying, "Well, Ole Miss said they'd give me $1 million. Hell, that's a no-brainer."
Well, yeah, because I just made $770,000. I just feel like they're almost gonna have to just set it up like just a straight up contract.
I think you can have one or both in the current system the way it is now. Mm-mm. No. I'm saying if you're not getting rid of the collective money, if you're going to keep it exactly like it is, I think you've got to do away with the portal.
Yes.
Because you cannot have any kind of loyalty or anything that really to count on. And at the end of the day, you telling me ESPN, SEC Network, Fox, a lot of these that are showing big-time college football games, you're telling me that if Tennessee loses every star player they've got, even though they've already got their broadcast schedule out for this week, that they're going to want to show Tennessee get the shit beat out of them?
They'll shove that right off to the back.
Yeah. Wait a minute. We thought you were going to have Nico on your team. We've got you booked for 3 Saturday night games. What are we going to do?
Right.
At some point, that's going to start coming into effect.
Your TV deal's exactly right. But there again, I think if they start putting too much TV into it, it'll be like the NFL, and there could be more money.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but I think the portal thing too. It's like the whole Carson Beck deal. I mean, you play like shit, and you just pick your ball up and say, you know what, I'm gonna go to the portal. I'm gonna go down here to Miami. Yeah. I know it's where his girlfriend is.
He did a LeBron. He took his talent to South Beach.
He did take it to South Beach, and he plays about as good as LeBron.
But I will give him this. Isn't that where his girlfriend's from?
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody says. Watching Beck the last 3 to 4 games Georgia played, there was not any player that you've ever saw on the field probably look as disinterested as that young man did.
Yes, that is a true statement.
So he may be happy.
Yeah, he
may be. He may be looking at like, hey, go get this $5-6 million, go down here to Miami, stay on the beach, and my football career may just probably be over with.
Yeah,
and I can't blame him for that.
Right. Oh, for sure.
All right. Would you say your final take on the college football year? What would you say? Here's what I don't even know how I want to answer this question. Apparently, it's our first show and we're still the shits at this. But the way I look at this year college football, yeah, Ohio State won it. We've got some people around here that are Ohio State fans for some freaking reason.
Yeah, I don't even know how they even got there.
But yeah, you're going to celebrate, and there were some good moments, some big moments. Tennessee beat Alabama, so that's big for me, not so big for you.
Right.
All right. There were some big moments, but at the end of the year, my overall take and the way I just looked at college football as a whole was like, nobody really gives a shit.
That's exactly how I felt. Is I was like, what the hell just happened?
I mean, I felt like I didn't. I felt like none of the players did. I felt like none of the coaches did. I felt like none of the fans did.
Yeah, it was just like
a new world order.
Yeah, it's like just a dead year. And I guess even when it got into the playoffs, we kind of knew how the games were going to turn out when we seen the schedule come out.
I didn't have a lot of faith Tennessee was going to go to Ohio State and win. I had a lot of faith they weren't going to get their brains kicked in.
And I would have never, I mean, really, even though Smith is amazing, their receiver, I didn't think Woodward was that good of a quarterback, and he showed his ass off in that not the Michigan game, but once he got into the big. I guess it was the first round playoffs when he started dropping. That was on y'all. He was dropping them dimes.
Thanks.
And,
bringing that up.
Yeah, but it was just for me.
Well, and I even got to where I was kind of like you. You had kind of talked me into it. I just started cheering for Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, they were the only ones that seemed like they were out there just giving 100%. And I feel like their coach coached his ass off for the season.
With that said, Brian Kelly's got to be on the hot seat this next year, right? Now, I really don't know how he wasn't on the hot seat this past year, but he's got to be now. Now that Marcus Freeman showed the world that you can take Notre Dame to the college football championship, right?
Yes. How is
because
it not?
Brian Kelly said you can't play for a national championship at Notre Dame.
That's exactly what he said. He said it all the time.
So, let's go into that. Who are your, just spout them out, who are your hot seat coaches going into next year? Is DeBoer?
100%.
Is he? Alabama, his second year?
I think he's going to be on the hot seat, 100%.
What's he got to do? Does he got to get to the playoff? Now that it's 12 teams, does he have to get to the playoff?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's got to win the SEC championship just because we've seen this year
to keep his job and for people to
get off his ass and really just quit pushing. He's got to make the playoffs.
So people won't bring out the pitchforks. He's got to at least get to the playoffs.
He's got to get to the playoffs,
and he's got to beat Auburn. I mean, that's always a number,
I think he's got to beat Tennessee.
Well, statistically, Heupel can't win on the road, so you're probably all right this year.
Right, but I'm just saying, but DeBoer ain't coached real good at home.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, but I think DeBoer will be on the hot seat. Golly, this is a huge statement. It's going to cause going to get some people pissed off, and it's not that I'm an Alabama fan. But I think if Heupel has a bad year on the road,
again, he's still he's still not won that big game.
I feel like that his seat could be getting warm.
And Tennessee has not done very good in the transfer portal so far. I don't know that we're going to be really good next year.
I'm looking at what I've looked at on ours. It's not real good. We've lost a hell of a lot more than we picked up.
And listen, folks, listeners, Dusty and I are Tennessee and Alabama fans, respectfully. But I think we were always probably going to follow the SEC most. Can we just admit, SEC's not the best no more?
They're not the number one. they're easily number two.
I think so.
But they're not number one. And I don't think it's close right now.
I don't either. I think if you take the 2 to 3 best out of the Big Ten right now, they handle the 2 to 3 best out of the SEC.
I think you're 100% right. And
another thing is, I don't know who the hell the 2 or 3 best is in the SEC.
I think you just put their names in the hat and you just shake it up real big and just throw them out. But I think Ryan Day, if he can't beat Michigan, even though he's won a championship, if he don't beat Michigan, this will be 6.
And this year it'll be at Michigan.
At Michigan.
And Michigan, if you look at the money they're spending,
dude,
they should be better next year than they were this year.
They should be contending for a title.
And another thing's going to hurt Ryan Day. Chip Kelly just left, right?
He did.
Now, where is Chip Kelly? He's offense coordinator. Is it
Raiders?
At the Raiders.
Raiders.
So, I don't care what anybody says. You got Chip Kelly, maybe one of the best head coaches in college football, as your offensive coordinator. There's no way that they're going to be as good offensively next year at Ohio State.
His defensive coordinator went to Penn State, too.
AJ, our producer, let us know that they lost their def coordinator to Penn State. So
you've won a title, then you've lost your coaching staff.
Yeah. So, hey, with all that, absolutely Ryan Day's probably going to be on the hot seat, especially if he loses to Michigan, and then if he loses 3 games and one of them's Michigan, his ass is fired.
Oh, I think so, too.
That paint on beard, they're fixing to find him somebody else.
Well, I wonder who sponsors that.
He gonna be sponsoring Just for Men is what he gonna be doing.
That or he's got some black spray paint.
But yeah, that was just my whole take on it. Was at the end of the year, yeah, I was heartbroken. We got killed by Ohio State in the first round of the playoffs, but I couldn't beat. We beat Florida, we beat Alabama, we beat our 2 biggest rivals. We made it to the playoff. I wasn't that disappointed, but at the end of it, I was just like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and my season. I mean, you heard me come in here every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was.
And I think I'm saying that in the retrospect of the fact that not for my team, but just my whole feel on college football. It just doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't. It does not. And I've had that conversation with a couple of guys. Like it's like Saturday don't mean as much.
Yeah.
In college football anymore.
Yeah, it's and for whatever reason, everybody and their brother still thinks Texas A&M is the toughest place in the world to go play, and I don't know who they've paid off to get everybody in the world to say that, but it's just not. No. It's not the college football that I've loved all my life.
No, not. I agree.
And I think,
but I think it's across the board. I mean, yes, you look in the stands and they're packed, but I think that it's not just me and you having these conversations about it being just nah. I think it's a lot of people are that way. There's just really not a whole lot to get excited about. We didn't have some crazy like standout player for a Heisman.
Well, listen, if I was an Ohio State fan, or if Tennessee wins a national championship next year, there's no way I could be as excited as I was in '98, the last one. Just for the fact is, how much can you really brag about it? You got the best players money can buy. Aren't you supposed to?
You're supposed to win.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it may not happen next year. You know, upsets can always happen, but I'll go ahead and probably make a $20 bet with you that the final 4 teams in the college football playoff next year are going to be the ones that spent the most money.
I like to gamble, but I'll not take that damn bet. But I think that's too. I think that's why Nick Saban retired. I don't think the man, like in his heart, was done coaching. But he couldn't just walk in your front door and say, "Hey, I'm Nick Saban. You want to go play in the NFL? You want to go win a championship in college, and let me get you the NFL?" He couldn't do that anymore.
And I think you're going to start noticing in your draft stock that kids ain't sitting for a couple of years and learning how to play like they did for Saban, like they did for Kirby Smart, like they did for some of the best coaches out there, because kids, the best players, they don't sit anymore.
No, they're playing.
Yeah. So, you know, they did change the new thing. The new thing going now is kids can go JUCO, though, and not cost them any eligibility. Do you think we start seeing better players go, get bigger, get better, get stronger? Do you think you start seeing schools like Tennessee, Alabama, Ohio State, like that, maybe telling some of these three-star kids, four-star kids, listen, you need to go to this JUCO school and then come play for us in 2 years because it's not going to cost you anything. And kids do that because they can pay for them to do it.
Right. Man, that's a big one.
Because now instead of playing 18, 19-year-old kids, I mean, listen, Ryan Williams only comes along once in a lifetime.
And Jeremiah Smith.
You're only going to get those. But for the most part, to me, you would be crazy not to let a kid go develop for 2 years, get bigger, stronger, smarter, live on their own a little bit, and then say, all right, now come play for me for 4. Because I'd much rather take the kid when he's 21 than I would when he's 18.
Sure. The only, I think you're right, but the only argument I'll have, or my opinion on it too, is I know it's a different time, but those receivers, let's say a wide receiver, they stayed at Alabama. They stayed at Ohio State. They didn't leave. They stayed there. You know, yeah, granted, they only got, 1 year to really shine, and you got to make the best of it for your draft stock. But I see what you're saying, and I guess so. The way the NIL is working and everything, I guess that's your best option is to do that. But it does suck that you can't have an Amari Cooper or somebody like that, or even think about which he was a number 1 Jennings. For y'all, like, sit over there, learn from learn from. Learn from
develop.
Yeah, and on the practice field, and not just having to go to JUCO. That part of it does suck, because I feel like the coaches at Alabama are better than the coaches at JUCO.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's not the point.
I'm just saying, like, I just feel like the coaches that you could have in D1 would help you get to the next
I just hope somebody doesn't tune into our podcast and hear you say, I feel like the coaches at Alabama are better than JUCO colleges. No shit.
I don't think that way right now, okay? Old Nips is not real good.
Hayden, where are we at on our hour mark? 45 minutes. I think that's a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, it's been a good first
It has.
At least in my book.
I think it has.
Can we just call it now? We'll just give our topic. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 90s Braves is going to be our discussion next week. We're going to talk about the highs, the lows, what probably could have been and should have been with that 90s era Braves team. And we're going to talk about the joy it gave us. Because, look, we're here, and I don't think we even told where we are. We're little old Lawrenceburg, Tennessee on here. Southern Middle Tennessee is where we're based up. It's Braves country around here. We don't have a Major League Baseball team.
No.
So you're Braves country around here. So we've got a lot of folks here close. But, you know, Braves were America's team in the 90s.
Yeah, they were Braves fans everywhere.
This could go to everybody. So that will be our topic next week. If you've got any things you'd want to ask us about it or maybe us talk about, put it in the comments section. We'll try to get to you and give you a shout out. But I'm
Dusty Kaiser.
For Dusty, this is Clint. So long, everybody.